Somewhere beneath the streets of a small Russian city, in a spot no one had touched in over 100 years, workers preparing for new construction were about to uncover a secret that had been waiting since the fall of an empire. This is the story of the Torzhok Gold Hoard and the person who buried it and never came back. The city of Torzhok sits in Russia's Tver region, one of the oldest urban centers in the country, its streets layered with centuries of history. According to Heritage Daily, the excavation took place on the town's left bank, in an area required by law to undergo archaeological review before any new construction could begin. The specific site was Sadovaya Street, one of the oldest parts of the city, located just 60 meters from where a church once stood, before it was torn down in the early 1930s. It was ordinary rescue archaeology, the kind of routine work done ahead of nearly every major building project in historically sensitive parts of Russia. No one expected it to turn into one of the most significant discoveries of Imperial Russian gold in recent memory. The team leading the dig belonged to the Institute of Archaeology of the Russian Academy of Sciences, working alongside the All-Russian Historical and Ethnographic Museum. As they carefully removed layers of earth across the site, they eventually reached the remains of an old house foundation, long since collapsed and buried beneath the modern street. It was here, nestled against the stone foundation, that they found it. Not a chest, not a strong box, but something far more modest. A small glazed ceramic container, the kind used at the time as an everyday household vessel, with a narrow neck and a rounded handle. According to Daily Galaxy, the coins had been hidden here for over a century, undisturbed since the moment someone chose this exact spot to conceal them. When the archaeologists carefully opened the container, they found it packed with gold. 409 coins in total, each one minted during the reign of Russia's last 3 emperors, spanning from Nicholas I all the way through to Nicholas II. The coins themselves varied slightly in denomination. Most were 10 ruble pieces, the standard currency of the late Russian Empire, numbering 387 in total. Alongside them were 10 coins worth 5 rubles each, 2 coins worth 7.5 rubles, and another 10 coins worth 15 rubles apiece. Added together, researchers calculated the total face value of the hoard at just over 4,000 gold rubles, an enormous sum for an ordinary household at the time. The most recent coin in the entire collection was dated to 1911, which told researchers something important. Whoever buried this treasure did so only a handful of years before everything in Russia was about to change forever. That timing was not a coincidence. In 1917, the Russian Revolution swept through the country, toppling the monarchy, dismantling the old economic order, and throwing entire cities into chaos and uncertainty. According to the excavation team, led by Natalia Sarafanova, head of the Novotorzhsk archaeological expedition, the hoard was very likely buried during or shortly after those revolutionary events. For a family or individual living through that kind of upheaval, burying one's life savings underground wasn't paranoia, it was survival instinct. Banks could fail, currency could become worthless overnight, political enemies could show up at your door. Burying gold in the ground, somewhere only you knew, was often the only form of security available. Archaeologists classify this specific type of discovery as what's known as a return hoard, meaning the person who buried it fully intended to come back and dig it up again once the danger had passed. That detail is what makes the Torzhok hoard so quietly devastating. This wasn't gold hidden by a bandit, or a criminal, or someone trying to escape justice. This was almost certainly an ordinary person's entire savings, buried with every intention of retrieving it once the chaos settled down. Except they never did. Whether they fled the city and never returned, were caught up in the violence of the revolution, or simply didn't survive the years that followed, we will likely never know. What we do know is that the gold sat exactly where it was left, untouched, for more than 100 years. Researchers did try to piece together who might have lived at that address. Historical records show that between 1914 and 1921, the street was home to 24 separate households, including priests, merchants, craftsmen, and clerks, according to the excavation report. But matching a historical address from over a century ago to a specific household is extraordinarily difficult, and the researchers themselves acknowledge that the trail effectively goes cold there. There's no name attached to this treasure, no face, no diary entry, no descendant who ever came forward. Just 409 gold coins, sealed in a clay pot, and a silence that has now lasted well over 100 years. What makes finds like this so rare isn't simply the gold itself, but the fact that it survived at all. As the researchers pointed out, gold coins from this era were frequently melted down, reused, spent, or recovered by the very people who buried them once conditions improved. An untouched hoard like this, sealed and forgotten for over a century, is genuinely uncommon in the archaeological record. It represents a moment frozen in time, the exact instant before everything changed for whoever buried it, and it never got the chance to be unfrozen by the person who put it there. Today, the coins are in the hands of researchers and historians, being carefully studied, cataloged, and preserved. A small fragment of a much larger human story about fear, uncertainty, and a revolution that reshaped an entire nation. But somewhere in the historical records of early 20th century Torzhok, there is a name we will probably never find, belonging to a person who buried their entire fortune in the ground one day, fully expecting to come back for it. They never did. And the only trace they left behind was the gold itself, waiting more than 100 years to finally be found. That silence, the complete absence of any name or story behind a fortune this large, is exactly the kind of mystery that keeps showing up in hoards buried during moments of crisis. And it raises a question worth sitting with. How many more of these silent fortunes are still out there right now, buried by someone who simply never got the chance to come back?